Hello and welcome. I'm Dan McDermott. This is Google Plus Week, episode 12, our unofficial look at the world's coolest social network. Joining me is a Google Plus Hangout. We've got quite a few people in here. It'll fill up fairly soon. And we've got a list of topics that are on my Plus page, which is gplus.to/McDermott. We always open it up for folks to help us come up with the topics. And the first thing we want to talk about is the actual brand new news that happened this week. We got two cool features. One is instant search, and the other is hashtags. Very popular, and they started on Twitter. I think users started to put little tags on certain posts to, if you were at a concert together, a police concert, for example, or whatever, you could write, at the police or something. And then other folks at the concert would use the same tag. You could search, and then it kind of grew into an actual feature on Twitter. Instant search is very cool, especially for journalists. And the idea is you can search in real time. If you search for a topic, let's say a war is going on, or an election night, or a Republican debate, and you wanted to find other people of a similar political persuasion, or whoever's calling it, and you can put that search term in there, put it on instant, and it will, as new people put posts on Google+, then they'll populate your stream, your search stream. So I want to ask Alan Firstberg, Priz, who's joining us there. Alan, tell me what are your thoughts on instant search? I know people have been clamoring for this for quite some time, and then we'll get into hashtags.
I think instant search is a great move for them. It's one of the things that people have been clamoring for. You kind of expect it from a company that made its name in search. I think one of the most notable parts of this isn't just that they've implemented search, but that it's going to be live and constantly updated while you stay on the page. So you'll see the search results, and as more results come in, at first you'll get a notice that there are more results, and then once you click on it, you'll be seeing those coming in live as people post on it. That's a great move for Google.
It's a huge move for journalists, because how many times do you see in the news so-and-so tweeted this, or I think the bin Laden raid, when we killed bin Laden, was actually broken on Twitter unwittingly. The guy said, man, there's this helicopter thing going on next door, and he didn't know what it was, and then the news broke that bin Laden had been killed, and this guy in Pakistan broke the news on Twitter unwittingly. And I know a lot of folks have said that they still rely on Twitter, and I've said for quite some time that while initially this was Google Plus was billed as a Facebook killer by folks who were angry at Facebook for any number of reasons and excited about Google. Really, it's not. It's a whole new paradigm. It's a whole new thing, and you kind of use all three of them for different things. But real-time search really narrows the usefulness gap between Twitter and Google Plus, in my opinion. Let me see let me get Mike. Mike, do you have any thoughts on this? On the implications of the ability to get real-time search results all of a sudden in Google Plus?
Well, I think it's something that's going to have value as it works out over time. It's like anything in Google Plus or any new medium that we're playing with. You've got to get used to it. You've got to figure out how it fits into your routine. It's just having the features in and of itself is not going to, I don't think, immediately change the Google Plus experience, but I think it has to be worked out over time.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think it's really cool, and it's neat. It's useful. I know for journalism, and I know for anyone who is not even just a journalist or a blogger, but just someone who's interested in a news story. If you heard about something exciting going on, let me get where's JR here? Let me get JR in. Let me find JR.
Well, one of the things I was going to say, Dan, is that, again, when you think about it, you see this search term pop up in something that interests you. What were you doing when this search term popped up? If you were sitting there looking for information on that topic, then you immediately go over to that topic and life is good. But if you're in the middle of a hangout or you're doing other things and these search terms present themselves, you're going to have to change what you're doing to take advantage of it. So I really do think that a routine is going to be important, and there may be changes in the technology to make it more user friendly.
I think so too. Let's get JR in. JR, what are your thoughts on instant search? Finally.
Well, I think one of the biggest things for me is being able to search when something comes out immediately, like like a big news, like with Steve Jobs dying last week. And just being able to search Steve Jobs and seeing all the posts that would roll in. Granted, we didn't have to do that last week with Google Plus, but anything that's big and breaking news, we can just type in the item and find out immediately. And just find a bunch of different perspectives on it.
Yeah, I find it. I find search in general really helpful if you're looking for the. I think I was doing something on Herman Cain. I was trying to get information on whatever, and I was looking for a Herman Cain circle, and there are none. Now, if you're looking for a Ron Paul circle, you're in luck. There's a number of those. I want to talk. Well, go ahead, JR.
That surprises me because Herman Cain's pretty big in the news right now.
He is. He doesn't. One of the criticisms I've heard from the press corps, the White House press corps, is and the folks on the campaign trail, is that he really doesn't have the grassroots organizations built up, and they're kind of surprised he's doing so well. And the folks are saying, well, he is doing well. However, he doesn't have the organization built up that folks like Ron Paul do in New Hampshire, Iowa, that kind of thing. The foot soldiers that he's great on TV, but so it goes. Okay, let me get let's change gears and let's talk about hashtags. And I think let me go to Patrick first here. Where's Patrick? Let me get him on here. Patrick, hashtags, of course, are you put a little thing there to indicate that. Patrick, I'm trying to explain exactly what it is. Explain what a hashtag is for folks who are having trouble explaining it, and then why it's great.
Yeah, well, you use the bracket symbol, and whatever topic or name you're writing about, you can make these hashtags, and when people search on these hashtags, they will get topics written that interest them, that contains these hashtags. And you can actually do invisible circles. You can use a hashtag, and people in the group that know about the hashtag will use this hashtag. And you can search for that hashtag, and you get topics that are relevant to what you're searching for. So it's another way to, improve on the instant search. If you have the instant search and you power it up with the hashtags, you will actually have a very powerful way to analyze streams and trends and topics that interests you.
Okay, I'm not sure what. I guess we're getting some kind of echo. Folks are. I don't hear it, and we're not recording it, I don't believe. But I'm not sure what it is. But I'll try. I'll work on that. Let me get. Alan, on the whole hashtag thing. What do you think?
I think this is a step that a lot of people have been calling for, but I think the way they solved the problem, the implementation, was somewhat of a mistake, to be honest. A lot of people were looking for a way to create these kind of ad hoc categories. And as such, I think hashtags are certainly one way to do it. But at the same time, what they've kind of done is gotten rid of the ability for very clean, very organized organization to take place. Since the hashtags first came out, a lot of people have been trying to figure out exactly how they work and exactly what happens when you click on a hashtag and what search takes place. And people have noticed some interesting things. For starters, it seems like if you search on, for example, the word hashtag, it will actually look for things that don't necessarily have the hash sign in front of it. It'll also look for things that have individual words, hash and tags. So instead of just doing a pure look for something that's tagged exactly the same way, Google has kind of expanded it. They've applied their knowledge of search, and you're searching on a broad topic. So what this may mean is that if you are, for example, if someone has tagged something cat, and you click on the hashtag, it'll also look for cats, plural. This solves a really big problem on Twitter. A lot of people, however, don't seem to like this because it now means that hashtags aren't a strict category, they're a search term, and they're not used to that. So there's some debate about exactly what's going on.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's very useful for journalists, especially for anyone who's following a big current news item. So I think it's exciting. All right, and let me switch gears here, and our next topic is all these negative news articles that were popping up. There was one that was, I guess it was from a British paper. I'm gonna try to pull it up real quick, and it was just ridiculous. They're still coming up, and basically what the articles are saying is that after they opened up the Google Plus to the general public, there was a 1,200% increase, and then it's dropped by 60% or something. And while that may be true, I liken it to a grand opening of a restaurant, and I think all these new folks checked it out, and a lot of folks have not been publicly posting. A lot of folks post very busily, and but they're just not doing it publicly. So let me see if I can get Alan here. Alan, is this a fair shot, or are these articles moronic as I describe them?
I think moronic is being generous to them, to be honest. Clearly what's happening is that a lot of the press is out there, and they're trying to get something out of Google Plus, and there really isn't all that much to say. I mean, in the earnings report yesterday, Google announced that there were 40 million users on Google Plus right now. And that's up from last quarter when there were 25 right after launch. So no, it's not a huge meteoric rise like it was back then, but there's still people coming, there's still people growing, and I don't know if your circles are anything like mine, or if the circling requests are anything like mine, you're getting tons and tons of people every day. So there's certainly some kind of growth in there.
Okay, and I want to say, I'm going to bring JR in one sec, and anyone else who wants to in on this, let me know, JR and Mike. But I'm going to read this article. This is from the Daily Mail in the UK, and this, of course, British tabloid. Google traffic plunges for Google Plus as 60% of users log off. This is 8th of October. Google has tried a number of different approaches, but none seem to get enough people to like their social networking program, Google+. By keeping its new social networking invite only, Google was hoping to amp up anticipation of Plus. That didn't work, so they opened up the cyber gates to allow any and all people to join. Initially, that seemed like it worked. Traffic to the site jumped 1,200% over the course of one day. Since that free-for-all, the site's traffic dropped down to a massive 60%. Given Google's typical strength when it comes to launching new products, the fact that the web behemoth social media arm is struggling to find stable footing comes as a surprise. JR, this is dumb, right? Just what do you think? Muted.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. I can make my point here. Pretty simple, really. If I go from 1 user to 1,000 user and I have 1,000% increase, and then I drop down to 400 users, and that's a 60% decrease from the 1,000, which isn't necessarily what they're saying there. They're saying that it's a 60%. I can't do the math, but anyway, either way, you went from 1 to 400 users, which is still a 400% increase, and it's all about the media portraying the math a little bit like, oh, this dropped completely off the face of the earth. Google Plus is failing, when that's not really the case. It's really pretty high up there still.
Yeah, and I would point out, I think they initially said, what were there, 20 million folks, Mike, and then now on the call, the earnings call yesterday, I think he said they have 40 million registered users. So they've only grown 100% right? So I don't know where 1,200% came from, but I think, I don't know. These articles are written by morons who have not used the system and
Yeah,
don't know what to talk
a lot
about.
of those print journalists, you know how they are.
Especially tabloid. Yeah.
In starting a new business, there's a well-known syndrome called the Valley of Death. There's this inventiveness, there's this creativity, enthusiasm for the new venture, and people jump on it, and it peaks very quickly, and then it starts declining. It declines to a certain point, and unless something else comes along to increase the interest and the enthusiasm for the product dies. So my guess is, and I don't know this to be true, but my guess is that the Google Plus has hit a very early valley of death, partially fueled by their own anticipation creating techniques that they did with the invitation only and so forth. But my point is that it's a behavior thing, and that is you have to get into routines. I've been technically inclined and involved with computers probably like most of the other people here in this hangout for a long time. I'm just now getting the hang of Google Plus. To say that it's dead now is ridiculous because there are a lot of people who don't even know what it is, have never heard of it. But there has to be enough of this second wave of interest and enthusiasm to sustain it. So we'll have to see what happens there.
I agree. Let me get JR in on this. Where's JR? Let me find him. There he is. Y'all keep moving around in my little hangout.
I just weighed in on this a minute ago.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Alan had said something that I can agree with, though, is let's not forget that there are reasons why people might think that Google Plus is dying, and there's a very valid point in that. As some people may not understand how Google Plus works, they come expecting a Facebook replacement when that's not the case. It's not going to be a Facebook replacement.
I agree. Let me get Patrick.
Yeah, actually, Mike did cover most what I wanted to say. So
Okay.
the only thing I can add to it is that even if it's a trend, I mean, Google Plus is here to stay because it's a very strong network for people and professionals. Because when I look at the, it's a very strong. I get very weird sound here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead and whoever the let's let me get you guys down there. Just go ahead and mute whoever's. If we mute you, it's because your speakers are on and we're getting a delay feedback. Okay, let me go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and switch real quick while you guys figure that one out. I've got you muted on the show, so you can talk amongst yourselves. No problem. Figure out what the deal is there. We have ultimate experiment in democracy going on over in the Hangout. All right, our next topic I want to jump to is newbies, new folks coming in, because there's been a whole bunch, right? Recently, 20 million people have joined up, and we still see new people coming on. And I had a conversation with a guy, or a dialogue in Google+. He said his younger brother came in, and none of his Facebook friends were here, and it sucks, and he doesn't use it anymore. And I said, well, you've got to circle the right people. Now, but ordinarily that's true, and we're going to get into that, but in his case, I think it was an island or a city, South American city or something, and there were only 120 people in the whole place that were on Plus, because I did a search, and most of them were not teenagers, because he was looking for teenagers to talk about teen things, right? So in his case, maybe Google Plus isn't ready for him, if that's what he's looking for, local teens, right? That'll change in time, hopefully. And then, but I really think folks will come on, and that's one of the disadvantages of these recommended user lists that they have. And if you want in on this topic, please let me know in the chat room there. But that's one of the problems with the recommended user lists is that they'll recommend. I've heard people say so and so who's famous, and they post a lot, and that fills their stream. And I've had people who I know on Facebook who are local friends of mine actually uncircled me because I post so much, and they're not interested in tech or news or whatever. They want to talk about, fun local things. And it was interesting. So, and then people don't get circling. One person, I circled the other day I circled a brewers group, folks who brew beer, and I was just, I was interested in that, and I wanted to check out the stream, and so I circled. It was someone had shared a circle of brewers, so I added the circle. And this one guy responded to me. I never corresponded with him. He said, Dan McDermott, I have denied you into my brewer's circle because you don't have any brewing posts. And then the next message was, but you so-and-so, you are allowed in my brewer's circle because you're cool, you have brewing. And I was like, I didn't respond because this guy doesn't know what's going on. If you follow someone, I never asked him to follow me back. I never asked him to put me in a brewer's circle. They don't get it yet. They're still trying to figure this whole thing out. And it's complicated. And like I said, it's a whole new thing. It's got some of Facebook, some of Twitter, but it's a whole different thing. So let me see who wants, okay. I'm not sure what the deal is, but let me try to bring Alan first, and then anybody else who wants to talk on this, go ahead. Alan, what do you think about newbies and circling, and how do we get folks to understand how this works, that your stream is completely dependent upon who you choose to put in it?
Well, there are two things going on here. The first is in terms of newbies and why would a newbie want to be here and why would they stay and so forth. We go back to the question we've been talking about for 12 weeks now, and that boils down to why in the world would people want to join Google Plus in the first place? Why would they want to join? Why would they want to stay? And then once we get past that, we start asking questions like, okay, what's the best way for them to engage with the rest of us? And how do we make that easy to do so? In a lot of ways, circles are very simple. They can be very easy to understand, but people don't quite get that there's still a lot of public posting going on. And even Google doesn't quite understand how that happened. They were expecting a lot more posting only within your circle. So this caught them somewhat off guard, and they didn't have the tools prepared to deal with it yet. I think once they start rolling out the tools that we've been asking for 12 weeks, we might see people understanding how to use circles better, using them better and more effectively, having these category circles actually show some use. I mean, now that we can share circles, that's helped a little bit, but we're still seeing a lot of people are just, haphazardly joining up with their circles and assigning people to circles without, without targeting how they're going to send or understanding how they're going to receive.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to do a post. I found a cute little kitten picture. When I put a stupid thing up, it'll get like 17 shares. If I spend like an hour writing, a really great academic or interesting news thing or whatever, I get a couple plus, whatever.
I think it depends. I mean,
what
I
I'm
think
saying
that
is
depends on your crowd, and it depends on what you're posting. I mean,
I'm sorry. Let me explain, Al. What I'm saying is I'm going to write a thing. Newbies. It depends who you circle. If you think Google Plus sucks and your stream is boring, it's because you haven't circled the right people, and you should use search to find topics and search by location. But when I do that, I'm gonna get a cute little cat in a circle picture or something and say like you're doing it wrong, or then people will notice it, the masses, and then it's ridiculous. It's funny, but it works. It's just like in a newspaper, you got to have art,
Hiram makes an interesting point in the chat, and I don't want to steal the thunder from him specifically, but he points out that public posting is an artifact from Facebook, and I kind of disagree with him actually. I think that's kind of where it came from, but it's more in the style of Twitter's postings, such that people will be following you, and you're kind of scattershotting your comments out to the world. The people who are your friends on Facebook were people who you presumably know and who presumably would be in a circle. So the posting on Facebook is more equivalent to posting something just to your circles on Google Plus, I think. Anyway, I didn't want to steal his thunder, but I kind of like to have a discussion with him on that.
I don't know if did he earlier say he doesn't want to talk because his mic's messed up or something? I don't know. Hiram, if you could just let me know if you want in on this to duke it out with Alan, and let me get Patrick Let me get Patrick in on this. What do we do with these newbies who don't know how to circle?
Oh my god. I have actually so many people in my circles, and I try to, well, encourage them to tell me why they have circled me. And I'm mainly these little lists with topics I am interested in. And please send me a reply so I can put you in the correct circle. And people, they read that, but they don't seem to understand what I'm asking for. I will not get any replies from them, not many, but the people I know, well, that have the general interest as I have, may it be a game or art or photography or whatever, I have them in the correct circles. But then we have these people that are the big unknowns. They just seem lost in a way. I don't know how to guide them or even to encourage them to, well, start looking into the Google Plus functionality, because I don't think it's a steep learning curve how to use the circles and follow people, and you don't have to follow someone back to have them in your stream. I mean, you just need to follow one. You don't need to add people to the left and right. So, I don't know. People are confused, it looks like.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. And let me real quick. And I figured out I screwed up, and I'll fix the setting in just a second. I figured out what the problem is. But let me ask Mike something. Mike, on have you found any circles that are of interest to you? And have you added them? Like when they say, like, here's a circle of well, if you're looking for a photography circle, you're in luck because there are about 1 billion of them out there. But people are sharing these circles, and they're I don't know if you guys can hear me now because I've just changed something. Can you hear me, Mike?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I was feeding the wrong thing back, so there was a bleed. It should be fixed now, in theory.
Sounds good.
Okay, but when you have a circle and you are, when you see it, like I saw one that said, here's a list of X number of people who are interested in brewing, home brewing. Wouldn't it be neat if you could preview the stream instead of adding the circle and then clicking on it? If you could just preview and see what they're up to, that would be a really neat feature if you could do that. Mike, have you found any circle? What do you think about how useful is that?
Oh, I think that would be an excellent feature. I certainly would take advantage of it because that goes back to me being old and old-fashioned about it. Just because I see a circle, I'm not going to click on it and jump into it because I've done that a couple of times and I felt like an intruder. It goes back to protocol in terms of when do you jump in, what are the credentials for jumping in, is it truly open for everyone? I think that you and I were on a hangout one time that you started, and we started talking some technical questions, and one of the guys on the hangout said, could you guys take it to email?
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah.
You remember that?
We were in a hangout. Yeah.
So who's on first? And that's got to be worked out in terms of a society as it relates to Google Plus. Who owns a circle? Who gets to do what? And so I think that's I'm going back to the human aspect of how do we fit into this whole concept of circles. And to answer your question, no, I have not jumped into a lot of circles. I haven't accepted any circles per se because I don't quite get it yet.
Well, you'll get it. And it's fun and it's exciting and it's a great way to discover different interests. You know, if you're looking for a specific topic, there's a topic of people who like Japan. There's a erotic writers circle, which I was very tempted.
Yeah, which one is that?
I'll find it.
No, never mind.
Especially if we could just preview the stream now and then. That would be a neat feature for the erotic writers circle. But anyway, yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's a neat thing, but a lot of people still don't get it. They still haven't figured the thing out, and they will over time. And hopefully they won't be killed off before. It's not going to be killed off, at least not in the foreseeable future. If they haven't killed off Orkut, then they're going to keep Google Plus. All right, so next topic is feature race. Let's get Mr. Allen first, or Priz. on the race for features, the feature race. What's the deal there?
This was a good one. Bradley Horowitz, one of the Google Plus VP of product, was asked about what the future of Google Plus is, and he said straight out that Google is in a feature race with Facebook, and they know that Facebook is looking to imitate Google Plus, and they're going to be looking to basically steal the best and brightest features they can from Facebook and incorporate them into Google Plus. And a lot of people were pretty shocked when he said that, mostly because usually companies don't come straight out and say who their competition is. But here he was saying that, yes, we know Facebook's our competition, and yes, we're going to be stealing their features, and we know they're stealing ours. That's a pretty bold statement for a VP to make.
I think it's all about the features, just like when they added the games. And this gets now. Part of this is our next topic gets into this, but I don't want to do too much on that. But I think it's all about the features, and I guess this kind of leads in. Really, these topics are kind of combined. I would say our next topic, which is
I think they are combined. They're grouped together for a reason, and it's not just the features are the important part, but it's how you deliver the features, and how people have access to the features, and how all the features tie together. In the chat right now, we've been talking a lot about, how does it tie into Google Apps accounts, and how is it going to tie into all of their other features that they currently have out there? And that's Google's strength, and that's what I think a lot of people are kind of missing and kind of misunderstanding, is that that's what Google wants to do. Last week there was, as part of the earnings call, one of the comments that Larry Page said is, the first quarter we brought you the Plus, and now we're bringing you the rest of the Google into Google Plus. So I think we're going to be seeing over the next few months more and more of the things that we've come to expect from Google. That we're going to see more and better Docs integration. We're going to see more and better calendar integration. We've seen YouTube bit by bit have a bigger presence with it. I think everything that currently is out there in the Google universe is going to be drawn under the Google Plus umbrella. And if they're good, they're going to do it the right way. And if they do it the wrong way, Facebook's going to eat their lunch.
Okay.
And I see a couple of people in the chat area are agreeing with me, and I hope I've expressed everyone's sentiments there well. I see several nods as well.
All right. If anyone wants in on this topic, I need you to type in the chat room in all caps, so I know, because now you guys are putting a lot of stuff in there, arguing back and forth or whatever, complimenting each other, praising each other as you always do, especially Alan. So let me get Patrick in on this, and then we're going to bring in switch gears to the second topic, which kind of, our next topic, which it kind of involves this. Let me find Patrick here. There he is. Go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, actually, Alan hit the nail there. I mean, for me, it is like I'm a Google user since long, with Gmail and so on, and I just love the Google Plus, and I really hope that every service they offer with the apps and everything will go under the same umbrella. So you really can, have your workflow, whatever it may be, under the same roof. You don't have to be spread out to the left and right. You don't have to use a lot of different sites and so on. You just can connect to Google Plus. You have your stream. You make your posts. You share your documents. Etc., etc. And if you have like this a Hangout, I can just see how this is going to be growing into, every man's media, your own TV station, more or less, if you want to, or a way to interact with other people and learn new things. I mean, I see the possibilities, and for me, this is just the beginning, and I hope they can stay in the game and. The future will tell, because everything just now is a big unknown. They are just testing features and see what works and not works. So we will see.
Okay, Scott, where you and I got to do a quick. Let's check out Craig's. My God, it's like that's an awesome setup. Craig looks like the Goddard Space Center or something. Maybe he's got a sweet monitor set up. All right, Scott, go ahead. What do you think?
Well, I was thinking about Facebook and Google Plus and sort of comparing them in this way and simplifying, where Facebook was, in a way, about building ego, like building connections or allowing connections and sharing, and for many wonderful purposes, but ego being one of the purposes, okay, where you could share things about yourself and your life, and find out things about your friends and your family and their lives and sort of connect in those ways. And then I found, moving over to Google Plus, I like to make this, again, sort of a dumbed down comparison where it's, sharing, but it feels bigger than that. It feels bigger than building ego, more like building big ideas. And maybe this is happening a little right now, but I see it continuing in a way where it can be really huge. And I think that that's the vision that Google came to the table with, is let's make it possible for people to share everything, or as much as they can, and to really build on each other's ideas. And I think that's such a wonderful way, and maybe even the way for us to move ahead as a world, as nations, as cultures, is to build on each other's accomplishments. And the easiest way to do that is if we're connected efficiently to everybody. And I love this, and I love how it's pushing Facebook to reinvent themselves, to start realizing, whoa, it's bigger than just the ego of a few people being able to post pictures and talk about themselves. That maybe we need to get on the ball, and maybe So I love that that's happening.
Okay, excuse me. All right, what I want to do is we're going to kind of switch gears to a second topic. We're almost done here, but let me get Alan. This was great. I'm trying to find it here. It's the rant, the famous Steve.
Famous rant by one of Google's engineers.
Yeah, you want to kind of without using some of the colorful language. The best parts were it was, you can't really say, because I try to run a family friendly program. Unless Bowie's on, then all rules are suspended. But it was awesome. You want to give us a quick rundown and why what he said was important?
Is an engineer, one of Google's engineers who is working in Google for about 6 years now, and we don't actually know what part of Google he's working in. Basically posted a huge rant on Google Plus late one night, and pretty quickly realized that he posted it publicly by accident, took it down pretty quickly, but not before enough people had gotten it. And in the whole thing, he makes a lot of rants. He rants about how Google is basically a lot of little fiefdoms that are all working on their own and not really talking to each other, either in real life or having their systems talk to each other. And he kind of says, well, look, here's Google Plus, which is supposed to be doing that, and it doesn't have an API. It doesn't have a real API. It doesn't have real interaction between all of its other components. What it looks like is that somebody said, oh, hey, look at Facebook. Let's go steal all their ideas and try to come up with ideas of our own and throw it against a wall and see what sticks. And he was very critical. A lot of the press has picked up on what he wrote and took selected excerpts from it, mostly talking about how there were problems with Google+. And I think they missed the boat on a lot of it. They missed what the thrust of his argument was, that we have all of these systems, and all of these systems need to work better together. And I saw very few people talking about that at all, yet it was the crux of his argument, really. He spent a lot of time explaining it. I think a lot of people also misunderstand that this kind of rant is incredibly common among engineers, especially when you're trying to convince other engineers. We've said on this show a number of times that we're very critical of Google+, but only because we love it and we want to see it improve. I think if you read the entire letter, it's very much in the same vein. He's incredibly critical of Google. He's incredibly critical of Google+. He's very critical of some other components inside the Google umbrella. But he's very clear that he's saying all of this as a call to arms. He's saying all of this to spur engineers to say, oh, hey, he's right. And we need to do something about that. I think every person I know, every engineer and programmer I know who reads the initial article, their first reaction is, ha, see, even Google doesn't like Google+. And when they go read the whole thing, they start nodding about halfway through, and by the end, they understand really what he was trying to say. And I think, if Google is smart, they are going to pay attention to him. If Google is really smart, they already know this, and they're doing something about it.
Well, also remember, the important point is this is just the one that leaked, right? I mean, this could be a daily thing amongst them. This could just have been the 75th one, and this was just very, very common going back and forth. And if they're a good organization, they solicit this kind of thing. Frank,
exactly.
Just to show you the one that I got a couple of my favorite passages, which I'm going to self-censor a little bit. And he put it out there by accident, but then he said he wasn't sure if he should delete it or not. He decided to delete it, but then he indicated he didn't care if people didn't have to take it down if they had put it out. He was whatever. It's out there. What are you going to do? And it was on Mashable and TechCrunch. I mean, it was everywhere. So it became a bit of a meme. But he said my favorite part, which may actually not be accurate, but just to show you some of the wrath here that he's saying here, and then I'm going to get to JR. He said, here's one paragraph that's great, talking about the Chrome browser. And so we wind up with a browser that doesn't let you set your default font size. Talk about an affront to accessibility. I mean, as I get older, I'm actually going blind. For real. I've been nearsighted all my life, and once you hit 40 years old, you stop being able to see things up close. So font selection becomes the life or death thing. It can lock you out of the product completely, but the Chrome team is flat out arrogant here. They want you to build a zero configuration product, and they're quite brazen about it. F you if you're blind or deaf or whatever. Hit Control plus on every single page visit for the rest of your life. I mean, but the part that they really got into was the Google+. Google+ is his whole argument, of course, is about there should be more platforms instead of just a product.
Well, exactly. I mean, one of the things, you brought up accessibility there, and he mentions that a couple of times in his whole rant. And he kind of mentions it not just in the terms of what we think of as accessibility, but also making it easy for other people to use the Google product, the Google data, in the way that best suits them and their customers. So he talks about accessibility in terms of, people who have trouble seeing are going to have trouble using the browser. But he also talks about it in terms of people who may want to do a search in a slightly different way than we let them, they're locked out. Or people who want to be able to write their own Google Plus client because they need it to do things that the default client doesn't do, they're locked out. Right now, if you're on a BlackBerry, for example, you don't have a Google Plus client. Somebody who had access to the Google Plus APIs could write one if they were, so foolish. But right now, Google has created walls, and it's keeping people inside those walls. And he's saying, open up the walls. Give people the API to let them do what they want to do. And to him, that's accessibility. That is accessibility.
Yeah, that's one of the things that propelled me to switch phones. Now I've got a Motorola Photon, and I forgot to thank Scott for turning me on to the new software that came out, because now I can look at Bowie in Vancouver as we yell at each other about his crazy posts instead of just typing back and forth. JR, what are your thoughts on this?
Myself here is that Google encourages this kind of behavior between their engineers, because it stirs innovation. I mean, he didn't make that post because he's mad at he's truly mad at the company he works for, and he thinks Google sucks. No, he made it because he wants them to be number one. He wants them to succeed. And I think some people in the media misconstrued that as him thinking that Google Plus was going to die, and some other things. That's not the case at all. He wants to say, okay, we needed to release a good API yesterday. On day one when this was released, if we wanted to succeed, and we didn't do that, and we need to catch up on this. And I think that's one of the biggest things. And another thing to note too is, he took the post down, but it was on his own accord. It was after he had already talked with the Google PR, and they said that they didn't care if he kept it up or not, because they don't censor their employees like that. And and I think that's another thing that was pretty important to note, that if he had made that kind of post with a company that was a little bit different, he may not have a job right now. But Google completely encourages that.
Okay, and it's. I remember there was a famous thing on, I forget what interview, or it was an article or something, but it was describing Bill Gates talking about Microsoft Money and saying basically, like, Quicken is killing us. Our product sucks compared to Quicken, and he was really frustrated. And that's healthy, and like I said, this is probably the fifth memo like this that went out in a couple weeks over there, for all we know, and this is just one that leaked by accident. And I imagine they'll try to fix how easily it is to accidentally share. The way it keeps your last set of if the last time you shared something, you shared it to public and to circles and whoever, when you share again, it retains those settings, when really it should be blank by default, and underneath it you should easily be able to select in sequential order of last use the different circles that you shared with, so that can't accidentally do that. Go ahead, Alan.
It's actually not clear exactly what the problem was. He kind of implied that that this either may have been that he did it from the wrong account, that he meant to post to Google's internal G+ server, or that he did it because of bad default send settings. It's not entirely clear. But one of the things that has come out of this is a highlight of just how difficult it can be sometimes if you're using multiple accounts on Google in general, and Google Plus in particular, or how difficult it is to basically send in manager circles. And in a way that almost made his point about accessibility, that people who wanted to be able to do things a different way are kind of blocked from doing so. That here, even on the flagship, what's becoming their flagship product, they're making a lot of mistakes, and they need to be better dealing with these mistakes. And he basically pointed out, look, I made this mistake. Who knows how many other people are going to make this mistake? We need to figure out the right way to do this.
But he was universally praised for what he said. It was really interesting. Craig Ship?
He was not universally praised for what he said.
Okay, let me go back to Alan. Go ahead, Alan.
I mean, you say that, and while all of us here are agreeing with that, and certainly most of the engineers who will hear it will agree with that, just about every tech story that comes out is criticizing him very broadly for making these comments.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, the ones written by simpletons that didn't really understand it or read the whole thing and put it into perspective, and just focused on Google Plus as a knee-jerk reaction to studying short-term thinking predicated in the incorrect notion that Facebook is successful because they built a great product, but that's blah, blah, blah. Focused on the SEO-friendly, dramatic headline, and didn't actually read it and comprehend it and put it fairly to the readers in a way that was accurate, don't you think? I think I've lost.
Yeah, but I think the problem is that just about all of the articles that are coming out are focusing on that really narrow sense. It isn't until you go and read the whole thing, and very few people are reading the whole thing, that you realize exactly what's going on and what he was saying and why that's such a big deal.
Okay, I think. Okay, let me get. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where that echo was coming from. Let me get Craig. For Alan
Yes.
on me again. Craig, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
I'll just make a couple quick comments because I'm battling a little bit of an allergy, but I think that Google does need to do a number of things much better. Finding people, we need to have custom URLs just like you can have on Twitter. We need to have a better search for finding people. You search people, you get 15 people with the same name. There's some issues with usability, and unless they also open it up to families, they've got to get rid of this 18 and up thing, because if you can't get the whole family on there, you're not going to pull the people away from Facebook, because Facebook is all about family and friends and so on. And I don't think that Google Plus can survive and thrive without directly challenging and taking on Facebook, because people spend way too much time on there. They don't have time to do both. Most people don't have time to do both. So those, I think, are the main points I would make.
Okay. Tell me about your system real quick. I see. Is that all one computer, or is that?
Yeah, this is a Mac Pro 6-core, 3.33 gigahertz with just 3 monitors hooked up, and then I've got a laptop here and an iPad.
And an understanding wife. You're standing. I see. Is that a health thing?
I hope so.
You're thin. Like you never see. You never see an obese UPS driver or FedEx driver. You never see. Alan Rumsfeld's big into that. He doesn't sit down at his desk. He stands.
Yeah, I don't know if it's really a good idea or not, but I do it.
Well, you don't have an ounce of body fat on you, so I guess we should all start standing up, maybe. Okay, let's talk about Buzz. Let's talk about this was interesting. Google killed off Google Buzz, and there was a announcement today. Posted, I think it was today. Yeah, right after ironically, after their earnings call, they announced several things. For one, Google Labs, I think, reaches end of life today. That was previously announced. But I'm trying to find the actual, I posted it today when it happened. And it was, I'm about to bring Alan in. Alan, I think you can talk on this. And then whoever else wants in. I'm trying to find the post. I apologize. I'm not ready. But basically, they killed off Google Buzz. And I had a picture of a dead bee. They killed Google Buzz. They killed Code Search. They killed Jaiku. They killed social interaction on iGoogle to be replaced by Google+. They killed the university research program for Google Search. And as previously announced, Google Labs closed, boutiques.com and the former like.com websites will be replaced by Google Product Search. The whole thing here is focusing on core products. And you see this a lot. Companies will do this. They'll say, well, this really isn't our core mission, especially if they get too much into the weeds or they find that they've bought this unprofitable thing. I think Walmart, when it set up movie streaming from Walmart.com and then ended up selling it to somebody, Netflix or whoever, but or had their own. I forget if I don't remember what it was. I'm going to be corrected here. Maybe it was a video rental thing. I forget. But anyway, it was. They just decided it wasn't in their core interest and they got out of the business. But then I saw some interesting observations here. Comments on my page, my post. Good riddance to Buzz. Staying focused will be key for Google. And yet, Alan pointed out, and yet Orkut still lives. It's all the rage in India and in Brazil. It's based out of Brazil now. Glad to see Code Search go. It's been very handy for researching failures and the odd error message when creating custom builds. Very sad to see Code Search go. But again, a lot of these are niche products. And then one lady thought my bee picture was sad, which it was. I never really got into Buzz. I probably should have, but it didn't grab me the way Google Plus did. Alan, what do you think about the whole? Does this make sense? Is this a good move?
Well, I think it's a good move in the sense that there was a lot of overlap between Buzz and Google+, and I think that was going to be causing some confusion. As I said in your post, I don't understand why Orkut is still alive. It should have been killed about 6 years ago, and they didn't for some strange reason.
What if it makes money? Does it make money?
No.
How do you know that?
Because they don't have advertising on it.
They don't have any advertising?
No, they didn't last time I looked.
in
No,
'88?
it's a den of spam. Nobody does anything with it.
Well, you just don't speak Portuguese well enough.
Well, that's granted. And if I wanted to learn Portuguese, I'd go find myself a Portuguese hangout nowadays. But yeah, I think Buzz made a lot of crucial mistakes early on, as being pointed out in our chat. They had big privacy issues straight up. It came across as very Big Brotherish. I'm going to give credit to Hiram for that quote. And as Bradley Horowitz later said in a post on Google Plus, they learned a lot about things. It's probably because of their problems with Buzz that we have circles today, that we have the privacy controls that we do, and that became a core feature. And so hopefully they learned some lessons from it. Hopefully they'll learn some other lessons from it as well, and we'll see where all of that goes.
Okay. Let me get JR in on this. JR, tell me about Google Buzz.
Who used it? I mean, really, I used it a little bit, but I had some friends that used it and shared some stuff. But I think what really ended up killing off Google Buzz was with Google Plus coming out. And what I'm hoping to see with Google Plus is maybe adding some features that Google Buzz did have that were rather nice, such as being able to integrate well with Google Reader, which I think is something that is very important for Google Plus to eventually do, because I know I use Google Reader all the time, especially to grab my news, and I would love that, be integrated a little bit more with Google Plus. But Alan pretty much said about everything that I was thinking, though, is their privacy issues that they had there at the beginning really is what probably killed off the service to begin with, and Google Plus was just the defining blow.
Okay, and then Patrick, tell me, where's Patrick here? There you are. Patrick, what do you think?
Well, Google Buzz for me, I used it since day one. Actually, it haven't been that useful, I have to say, because it didn't hit that well. And every friend I have, well, there is about 4 that is using us and have activated it. So even it was good, but still, nah.
Okay. I never used it, and now it's gone, or soon will be. I don't want to get into it. Like, I'm afraid to use Angry Birds because I think I'll be hooked on it. It's like the number one. Seriously, I'm afraid I'm going to get addicted. I don't buy lottery tickets. I see all these people who have no money, and they're they're getting all their food they get with the WIC sticker or card, and then they use their cash to get lottery tickets. And I'm afraid I don't want to. I mean, if they're buying them, it's probably addictive. Probably I don't need another vice. I already got my decaf coffee and stuff. Crazy stuff. Okay, so all right, I think it's interesting. I think they're just getting back to their core products. So I want to thank the Hangout for being here. Appreciate it, you guys, all you guys, and the new folks in. We do this every Friday. And then usually fills up once we get going. But yeah, it was great. This has been a good episode. It's always great when there's news. Last week we had almost no news going on, so we were kind of I think we talked about the Beatles or I forget. No, I'm kidding, but we talked about whatever some non-Google stuff for most of the show. But we actually got to keep it on Google. So anyway, check me out. I'm at gplus.to/McDermott, or just Google Dan McDermott. You can find me, and every week, a couple days before or day before, whatever, I'll put a link to a Google Doc that's editable by anybody where we list the topics, and then we open a Hangout, and the Hangout's accessible first to previous callers, and then it gets open to the public. So I want to make sure the regulars get in, and then it opens to the public. So by participating in the show, you can get on that list of callers and get first access to the Hangout. But the list is totally democratic. Anybody, and we haven't been hacked. I think we were hacked once, but not bad. But anyway, I appreciate you watching. If you are watching on YouTube, please click like. If you've watched till this point in the show on YouTube, you definitely like the show, and you should definitely click like, and you should subscribe to the channel. So anyway, I want to thank the Hangout folks. I want to thank the folks listening, watching, checking us out on iTunes, our visitors from the Huffington Post. I am Dan McDermott, and that concludes episode 12 of Google Plus Week.